Okay, it's time for chapter 23, which is called A Day Like Any Other. And you may remember some of the events in this chapter because it's actually what was in the prologue before we started reading the book. So, this is the chapter where she gets shot by the Taliban. So, just keep in mind that it sounds familiar because we have heard some of the events. She says it a little bit differently, but this is the part where she does get shot by the Taliban. Chapter 23, A Day Like Any Other, reading with permission of Scholastic Books. The second Tuesday in October started out the same as any other. I was late as usual because I'd slept in as usual. I'd stayed up extra late after talking to Moniba, studying for my year-end exam in Pakistani studies. I'd already done a disappointing job on my physics exam, so I would have to get a perfect score on this exam if I wanted to take the number one spot back from Malka Noor. It was a point of pride. It was also a sibling thing. If I didn't come in first, I'd never hear the end of it from Kashal. I gulped down a bit of fried egg and chopped tea with my tea and raced out the door, just in time to catch the bus crammed with other girls on their way to school. I was happy that morning, ridiculously happy. Before I left, my father had been teasing Atal, saying that he would be my secretary when I became prime minister. And of course, Atal said no, he would be prime minister and I would be his secretary. It seemed as if everything in life was going so well. My mother was learning to read, I was on my way to the school that I loved, and Moniba and I were friends again. I told myself not to worry about Malka Noor and instead to work hard. And I thought I would have a talk with God. So I did. I whispered a prayer of thanks before I managed a few last minutes of studying for my exam. Oh, and God, I said, please don't forget to give me first place since I've worked so hard. I always prayed most during exams. Usually, I didn't pray on time, which means praying 5 times a day in which is our religious duty. But at this time of year, my friends and I prayed on time. I asked for help with my exams or help to come in first in class. Our teachers always told us, God won't give you marks if you don't work hard. God showers us with his blessings, but he is honest as well. So I always worked hard too. Exam morning passed and I felt confident I had done well. Afterward, Moniba suggested that we stay behind and wait for the second pickup, which we did often so that we could chat before going home. When the Dinah arrived, I looked around for Atal. My mother had told him to ride home with me that day. But soon I was distracted as the girls gathered around to watch the driver do a magic trick with a disappearing pebble. No matter how hard we tried, we couldn't figure out his secret. I forgot all about Atal as we piled into the van. We squeezed in and took our usual places, about 20 girls in all. Moniba was next to me, and the rest of my friends were across from us on the other bench. A little girl named Hina grabbed the seat next to me, the spot where my friend Shazia usually sat, forcing Shazia to sit back on the bench in the middle, where we often put our backpacks. Shazia looked so unhappy that I asked Hina to move. Just as the van was about to pull away, Atal came running. The doors were shut, but he jumped on the tailboard on the back. This was a new trick of his, riding home hanging off the tailboard. It was dangerous, and the bus driver had had enough of it. Sit inside, Atal, he said, but Atal didn't budge. Sit inside with the girls, Atal Khan Yusufzai, or I will not take you, the driver said with more force this time. Atal yelled that he would rather walk home than sit with girls. He jumped down and stormed off in a huff. It was hot and sticky inside of the Dinah, and we bounced along Mongora's crowded rush-hour streets. One of the girls started singing a song to pass time. The air was thick with the familiar smell of diesel, bread, and kebab, mixed with the stench from the nearby stream, where everyone dumped their trash. We turned off the main road at the army checkpoint, as always, and passed the poster that said, "Wanted Terrorists." Just after we passed the little giant snack factory, the road became oddly quiet, and the bus slowed to a halt. I don't remember a young man stopping us asking the driver if this was the Kashal school bus. I don't remember the other man jumping onto the tailboard and leaning into the back where we were all sitting. I never heard him ask, "Who is Malala?" And I didn't hear the crack, crack, crack of the 3 bullets. The last thing I remember was thinking about my exam the next day. After that, everything went black.